Hey guys, welcome. Today I'm just going to do a quick video on factor markets. I'm going to try and split this up between the competitive factor market and monopsony. So there will be two videos for this. So make sure you watch both of them. Now, what is the factor market? Well, the factor market is the factors of production. So what are the factors of production? Well, that would be land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Now, these are the things that we are buying from the households, right? So when we're talking about the factor market, what we're really looking at is buying land, labor, and capital. We're looking for the market for these things. So most of the time, we're going to be dealing with the labor market. So factor demand. Who is demanding these factors? Well, that would be the firms. The firms need the factors to make output. Now, where do they get this from? Where do they get the factors of production? That would be the supply, and the supply, the factor supply, is the households. Okay? Now, what do the households get paid? They get paid a wage. Okay? So the competitive factor market, right, is going to be similar to the perfect competition. So the competitive factor market. It's going to be pretty straightforward. Just like a competition, perfect competition, we will be having a market graph and a firm graph. So here's the deal. The market graph is going to be pretty straightforward. You will have wage, demand for labor, supply of labor. Okay? And that's the market. Now, the market could be for anything. It could be the market for doctors. It could be the market for low skill workers. It could be anything. But this is the market. And so in the market, they say that this is the wage and this is the quantity. So just like perfect competition, if you go over to the firm graph, you will only work at this firm at this wage, because if another firm tried to charge you a lower wage, you would quit and you would go work somewhere else at the market wage. So that means that your supply of labor is a perfectly elastic line. Now, the market wage is the same wage as the firm, so this is your supply of labor. Now, your demand for labor is going to be uh, is going to be a downward sloping line. This is your demand for labor. So this is the competitive factor market. We're going to have a perfectly elastic supply of labor for the firm and a downward sloping demand curve as well. Okay, so this, where they're equal, becomes the quantity of labor that the firm hires. Now, why do they hire this amount? Well, that's because you're still going to do profit maximization. Now, what is profit maximization? Well, it used to be MR equals MC, but because we're dealing with the factor market, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be MRP equals MFC. MRP is your marginal revenue product of labor or capital. It really doesn't matter. And then your MFC is your marginal factor cost. Now, what is your marginal revenue product? Your marginal revenue product, let's break it down. It's marginal revenue, so it's just marginal revenue times, and it's marginal revenue product. So now you need the marginal product. What we're measuring here is the worth of your employee, like your benefit of hiring somebody. Benefit of hiring. Now your MFC is your marginal factor cost, right? And so basically now we're trying to figure out what's the cost of hiring somebody, okay? And so that would be the wage. So for the marginal factor cost, this is going to be equal to wage. Okay? Now, the MRP, right, as we saw with the firm graph, is your demand for labor, right? And why is this downward sloping? Well, as you hire more people, what's happening to the margin of product? It's going down. As you hire more people, your margin product is going down. Remember, your total product is increasing at a decreasing rate. Now, your MFC is going to be the supply of labor, and it's also a straight line, and that's because your MFC is also your wage. So you will do MRP equals MFC. So this will be your quantity of labor. And that's why you hire that many, because you're doing MRP equals MFC. You will have a question that comes up, and you will be given something that, for instance, you have the quantity of capital. Remember, it doesn't really matter what they give you. They could give you, remember, we had a question about lemons, right? It could have been lemons, it could have been labor, it could be capital. It doesn't matter what they give you, okay? Because all you're going to do is take the total product and you're going to find the marginal product. And once you find the marginal product, you need to find the marginal revenue product. So for instance, if we had zero capital, 1, 2, 3, 4, how much product are we making with zero capital? Zero. Okay. So now we got to find our marginal product. 10, 15, 5, 2. If you caught on, you would notice that my diminishing marginal returns happens when? Diminishing marginal returns happens whenever my marginal product, it goes up, 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 and then it starts to go down. And that happens with the third worker. That's when my diminishing marginal returns happen, because I go 10, 15, and then down to 5. So I'm decreasing the marginal product. So diminishing marginal returns begins with the third worker. So now that we have the marginal product, we now need the marginal revenue product. In the question, they have to give you something with the marginal revenue. Most of the time, what they'll say is the market price is $20, right? So they'll give you the price. Your price is your marginal revenue. If they gave you different marginal revenue numbers, use those. If they only give you price, use that. So in this question, your price is $20, so your marginal revenue is $20. So all you're going to do is the marginal revenue times the marginal product, 200. 20 times 15. 20 times 5. 20 times 2. Right? Now that we have our MRP, we now need to look at our MFC, which is our wage. So in the question here, let's just say you pay them $120 per day. Okay, so that's your wage per day, right? So that would be 120, 120, 120, 120. Now your best choice is MRP equals MFC. Okay, that's the best choice. So let's look here. Do you hire the first worker? Yes. And the reason is because your MRP is greater than your MFC. So you hire him. Do you hire the second one? Yes, because your MRP is greater. Do you hire the third one? No. So we only hire 2 workers. Okay? And that is for profit max. MRP equals MFC. In this example, you only hire 2 workers because the third worker, their MFC is greater than their MRP. So don't hire. Okay? So just to recap, the competitive factor market is going to look like this. You're going to have the market graph, which is just supply and demand. You're going to have the demand for labor or demand for the factor. All that is your MRP, L, capital, doesn't matter, MRP. And that formula, again, is margin of revenue times your margin of product. And your supply of labor is just your wage. So we will hire that quantity of labor because that's where your MRP equals your MFC. Alrighty. The last thing I want to talk to you about is, or the next thing I want to talk to you about is just the derived demand. So derived demand works like this. If your demand for the iPhone goes up, okay? So the product, right? This is the product. If the demand for the iPhone goes up, what happens next? Price goes up, quantity goes up. If price goes up, what happened to marginal revenue? Marginal revenue increases. If marginal revenue increases, what happens to marginal revenue product? Well, if your marginal revenue goes up, your MRP goes up. And if your MRP goes up, you demand more labor. Okay? So because you're demanding more iPhones, you start demanding more labor. This process is called derived demand. And the basic idea is that from the product market, you're demanding more labor or less. Demand more or less labor. Okay, so for instance, if the demand of the iPhone goes down, price goes down, marginal revenue goes down, MRP goes down, demand for labor goes down. All right, the basic idea here is that do you want to make more iPhones? Yes. How can you make more? You need more labor. That's what derived demand is. Okay? So that's all I wanted to talk about to you in this video. I will be moving on to talk to you about the least cost hiring rule. It's a very interesting topic that kind of difficult. And then I will be finishing off with monopsony. Okay, so make sure you check out that video. All right, I'll see you there. Bye.